Hello and welcome to this reading. I'm doing a new thing where I will be making a reading for different soul groups and then to associate with the reading so that if people feel like they need like an energy boost or meditation or whatever, to like help shift their energy or bring it like a grounding, balancing, I'm going to be doing an associated either sound bath, sound chamber, or guided meditation to go with each reading for the soul group. So I'm probably going to make one each time, but I might tag like one that has already been made if it's matching the energy. So what I'm doing for this video, my mind has been really scattered. That's part of why I haven't been posting lately, just because my mind's been like, blah, and it's so hard to get a coherent sentence. But the first group that I'm working with today, I guess the only one for this reading in this video, is the Siren soul group. So those who resonate with the, I guess you could say the archetype of the siren, or the siren energy, the siren sort of soul and expression. And I just wanted to share the different decks that I chose and why. So, as many of you probably know, sirens are highly associated with the mermaid archetype. However, sirens actually are not traditionally mermaids. They're like birds, and you know how birds are very musical. They're very almost like they are magical. You can hear my birds in the background. I think they're magical, and they're very melodic, and they have a lot to say, and so many different ways of expressing it. And so this is the traditional archetype of the siren. And I think sometimes that gets lost in the mythology of what the siren has become. Now, when I say siren energy, of course this is going to kind of look different for different people depending on how they connect to this. And for the sake of the reading, I'm not going to make it one versus the other as much as the energy in and of itself. Though a lot of the cards sort of do have more of the mermaidy sort of etheric, watery feel versus more of the airy, I don't want to say free-spirited, but I think you know what I mean. So let me get into the decks that I chose for this reading today. So the first deck that I pulled from was Magical Dimensions. And I chose from this deck because, to me, kind of like how the Fae exists in their own field, their own space, their own realm, I feel this way about sirens. And really most mythical sort of creatures, mythical or, what we call mythical beings. I believe that they are just in different dimensions, and we don't, as human beings, perceive them as often because of this. And so with sirens, I wanted to use this deck because it's like getting messages from dimensions that are different from here to really help bring that message through for people who are kind of experiencing life in that different space. And then the next deck that I chose from was the Moonology, the Moonology Oracle. And the reason for that is when it comes to sirens, I really get like a lunar feminine vibe. I feel that very strongly. Like there's a deep connection to not the moon per se, but the mystical side. The moon really represents the mystical side of our perception, of our awareness. And I really feel like sirens have this this ability to really tap into that, and not just tap into it, but to channel it. And it's enchanting. It's enchanting, and it's really powerful, and it's like you can feel the energy in their voice, you can feel the magic in their words, because they have this direct channel to this very etheric part of the self. And I feel like that also connects into the magical dimensions. I also chose cards from, and I'm actually shuffling these right now because I realized I forgot to actually shuffle them. Ooh, that's interesting. And this is from the Archangel Michael's Sword of Light Oracle. The reason I chose this was because sirens to me are, in a sense, masters of the throat chakra. So sometimes this isn't as apparent, because oftentimes I've noticed that which people are the most have the most potential towards is sometimes the aspect of that themselves that can either be the most restricted or pushed down or karmically even dissuaded away from. So for example, if you're a very throat chakra powered person, you might find yourself in situations or even in like families that really discourage you from living in your authenticity, from expressing your true opinions and thoughts, from essentially from having a power in your voice. And this is part of your not only development of this part of you and your clearing of karmic energy surrounding this part, this aspect of your life, but also I'm probably gonna have to shut that door, but also sometimes I want to say, not as like a scare tactic, but let's say like entities or beings or energies that are not necessarily in alignment with yours or at the same space that yours is in will intentionally target those areas, because that's your strong point, and you might not even know that until you start to step into that space of balanced and how do I put this? Balanced and healthy self-expression. Then it's like, whoa, this is natural to me. I actually do have power in my voice and how I express myself. And so that's kind of an example that would apply here for this group specifically, where if you found that, here, I'm going to shut that door real quick, but if you found that your sense of self-expression is is stifled, or you struggle with it from time to time, but you know that there's more, you have more to say, you feel the power behind your, let's say, creativity or your ideas or your thoughts or the way you organize your thoughts even. Just because the people around you don't recognize it doesn't mean less about your inherent power. And sometimes it means that the people around you are literally stifling it. So that was kind of a rant. So that was why I chose the Archangel Michael deck, because that was the point of what I was saying, because, Archangel Michael rules the throat chakra. And so I feel like this group would be more aligned to that energy. And then the next deck that I chose was Beyond Lemuria. Again, that sort of magical, mystical feel, very in the feminine energy. Yeah. And then Deep, Dark, and Dangerous. The reason I chose this was at that same point of, I believe that those who have this siren aspect to their soul have a certain power over their voice. It's almost like it's enchanting. The enchanters and enchantresses, they can bring magic through their tone and sound and words in a way that other people don't. It's different, and this can be good and bad. This is not, all like healing, love, and light. Sometimes this can be channeled in ways that are a little bit darker. And so I feel like this archetype and this soul group is very it's like there's a potential for great variety of energy. So it's not just one face of existence. There's a lot of depth there. And a lot of times, the darker one can go, the more depth there is there. There's more to uncover and reveal. There's a lot more. It's like the oceans are very dark to a point where there's no longer light because their depths are so deep, right? But in those depths, there can be a lot of perceived danger, both from the self and from others. So, yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to pull that card and kind of see pull from that deck and see what comes through. So, as far as I'm aware, that is all the decks that I pulled from. So, let me start. So, the first card that I pulled was Awakening. And with Awakening, I see this being, and she kind of actually reminded me of, like, the mermaid sort of siren archetype. And she's even, like, in this fountain of water. But she has this, almost, like, pretty sure it's, like, light language, but there's this, not aura, but these swirls around her. It almost reminds me of, like, a butterfly and an orb. And she's coming out of the water, and it's like she's awakening into herself. She's rediscovering herself, which I find really interesting because, the next card that I pulled was Reflective Truth. So you have 331, so 331, right? I just thought that's interesting. So you have Reflective Truth, and water in and of itself is reflective, so she's coming out of this pool where she is going to be, like, it's almost like moving away from her reflection and becoming a new version of herself as she's awakening. But for her to get there, it's almost like you see this reflective truth. So the reflective truth says identity, self-love, and acceptance. And Awakening says ancient knowledge, memories, and connection. And so it's like, I feel like it's saying as you are re-identifying yourself from a place of love and self-acceptance, you're going to have a stronger connection to yourself. And through that connection that you have, that's how you open the doors to more of your memories and more of your deep wisdom and your soul knowledge. Because when we're disconnected from ourselves, when we're not coming at a place for love within ourselves, it's really hard to stay connected and to tap into those things because we're literally disconnected from them. We're shutting the door on ourselves, and you can't really acquire this knowledge without being open to yourself. And so I feel like this is really saying to those of you who, let's say, if you're watching this video, like, clearly you've already been on a spiritual journey for some time, whether or not you've been awakening as a starseed or whatever it may be, you've probably been on a spiritual, like, aware that you're on a spiritual journey for a while. I don't see people being here who are not. I need a drink, I'm so thirsty. And with that said, if you find that you're in a new phase of your awakening, where you're starting to, especially if you're starting to come more into memories of past life memories, or even just feeling the energy of something, like if you're here because you really feel a strong draw to this archetype, this energy, that's part of you awakening to some aspect of yourself that's asking for you to identify it, to accept it. That's part of your reflective truth. It may not be this is like an interesting thing that I see, but it's like it may not be present in your physical reality the way that you envision it in your mind, or how you feel it. However, it may reflect itself in the way that you exude your own energy in your day-to-day life. So let's say maybe you aren't this half bird, half woman, half fish, whatever. Maybe you're not this fantastical image of a siren. However, maybe you have the elements of the energy within you and within your literal energy and soul where it's exuding, and as your aura merges with other people and you're energetically connecting with them in day-to-day life, when you're aware and tapping into this aspect of yourself in a way where you know how to utilize it, that may be reflecting itself through there, where you have a powerful influential voice, or very emotionally can really bring out the emotion in people, and just things like that, where it may be more subtle, but it's the reflection of this past playing itself into your day-to-day life as a gift, as a way in which you present yourself and your energy. Maybe you're more of a seductive person where you're really able, and it's very easy for you to appeal to people who you are romantically interested in, or just things like that. I think you get the point. Let me see here. Before I read more of those cards, I want to kind of stay on this side, because I feel like there's two sides here, two kind of different messages. One that's more about you, and then another that's about a situation. So I'm going to keep going on about you and then look at the situation a little bit. So it says balance spirituality and practicality. So here's another aspect. If you find yourself in this, spiritual awakening, you're revealing more things about yourself and starting to see things a little bit more clearly within yourself. Sometimes, and not sometimes, I've noticed this a lot, especially in the spiritual community, but in general, I think it's just what happens when people are going through some pretty big things. There's a tendency for us to become very ungrounded from the 3D. So what I mean when I'm saying that is essentially, I see a lot of times, and this has happened to me as well, where you become so in your it's almost like when you are behind a veil that even if you've perceived this and you've always tapped into it, it's like once you see it and you understand it at the same time, and more is starting to kind of reveal itself to you, you almost feel like you're losing your mind a little bit. And it can be really hard to stay grounded in the present, outside of yourself. So losing friendships, losing jobs, not being able to maintain things, having a hard time keeping track of time, having a hard time keeping track of events and outings and relationships and things like that, where it's almost like we become a little bit ungrounded from life, because we're realizing we're more than just this physical flesh. And when this happens, I've seen a lot of times that people stop building their 3D. Sometimes they stop going after, things that may have interested them in the past. They stop going for those things. They make their life 100% solely about their spiritual progression. And while I don't actually think this is a negative thing, oftentimes this is part of the path. sometimes it's really important to keep balance. And I really like that this is full moon in Pisces. So as a Pisces myself, this is something I know I struggle with. And it's really important. I'm a Pisces sun, not moon. But, it's the same, like, that Pisces energy has a tendency to get lost in the ethers and forget to focus on the real world around them. Or, the physical world around them, I should say. And if you found yourself in that place, especially awakening, where you feel a little bit disconnected from people around you, you feel a little bit disconnected from your job, from your life and how your life was, look at what you want to do. Who do you want to be? Like, what calls to you now, even if it is more spiritually focused? Like, let's say you want to start like a Reiki healing practitioner business. How do you start? Okay, well, let's start being practical about it. I need to get trained. So you need to find someone who can train you in Reiki, who can attune you. Let's say you want to, I don't know, write beautiful spiritual music, or host movement healing classes, or whatever it may be, even if, like I'm saying, even if it's a spiritually focused thing, and even if it's not, and I think people really need to hear this, even if it's not, even if it has nothing to do with other people or serving other people or helping other people, even if you, let's say, wanted to just be an artist who paints and expresses what you feel in your heart, even if you want to be climb the top of the ladder and become a CEO at your company, like, at that point, it doesn't matter what it is. What do you want? What would make you feel satisfied and fulfilled in your life? And how can you practically go about continuing to build that and grounding in what you feel in your heart you want to create for yourself? Because it's so easy to lose sight of that. And that's a powerful part of growing on our spiritual journey, is doing so while not completely losing our roots. We're still here, we're still on earth, we're still human, we're still living this life. And it's important for us to have a good grip on it. And in doing so, that allows more pathways towards exploring ourselves and the things that really call to us, right? So, balance, spirituality, and practicality, right? Full moon in Pisces. And here it says freedom. Freedom means living as you choose, with your wings and heart open, able to direct your reality as you want. The quest for freedom seems innate. You may picture freedom in the more extreme guises, but when we truly feel free, our lifestyles may not change drastically. Limitation can be a state of mind. The only change might be choosing to live a certain way rather than feeling obligated. A shift of perspective can help bring lightness and choice. In the bigger picture, what does freedom look like to you? If you're feeling stifled, it is up to you to make the change. And there you go. It's like, what does freedom look like to you? What would make you feel fulfilled in your life? And, I feel like this is part of that reflective truth, the self-love, the self-acceptance, is really looking at that and being serious about asking yourself, what would actually make me feel fulfilled? What would actually make me happy? What is actually, I want to say, not worth my time, but like worth my energy? What am I worth? And how am I going about attaining that practically? So I need to read from this deck because I don't actually know what this is. So here we have the Valkyrie. I don't know how to say that, so excuse me. But she represents choice. So let's see. What number is this? Oh, 42. I couldn't see the number. Wow, I would have been looking for quite some time. Okay. Choice. Valkyrie. You have control over yourself only, and you can choose your thoughts and actions. It is never too late to change. You can transform your fears. Be courageous even though you may feel fearful. The duality here is choices/consequences, self/community. Before I read the rest of this, I kind of want to go into an aspect. Let me take a little sip of my juice real quick. Where sometimes it can be really easy to lose our... So you see this reflective truth with this reflective image, right? And, you know, like, sometimes mirrors are distorted. Sometimes how we perceive things, even ourselves, is completely distorted. And I like how it says self versus community as duality, where it's kind of putting two on opposite ends. And in a lot of ways, sometimes you really need to step back. And I feel like this is why a lot of us in our awakening are called to step back and isolate, to see ourselves more clearly. And I do think it's worth, if that's coming up, asking yourself, what are ways in which maybe you're not accepting who you are or really stepping into your full power and potential because of the truth that other people are presenting to you as who you should be, how you should act, what you should think, what you should want. And really just taking a moment to ask yourself, does this actually align with me? So let me go back to the reading, or to the Valkyrie. Wow, dude, my throat. I don't know what's up with this. Okay. The battlefield of the ancient Norse was not a pretty place. For Viking warriors, upon the battlefield, the incentive to fight bravely until death was what came after. While we often hear the idea of our lives flashing before us at the time of death, what Norse warriors hoped would be there was most likely, and for some hopefully, a beautiful yet terrible Valkyrie. Valkyries took the form of women in battle dress, sometimes winged, often on a mighty horse, eyes flashing and singing a song of blood and glory. I love that came up. That's really funny. The Valkyries were the choosier of the slain and were present at every battle of the Norse. Their primary service was to select the most worthy and bravest of the dead warriors. I'm so sorry. I'm probably not going to say this right. The Einherjar, and spirit them to the Valhalla, with the god Odin, or to reside with the goddess Freya in her hall of Vangur. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. There, the Valkyries would joyfully serve the Einherjar mead until their final battle, alongside the gods. While there was the idea that the Valkyries were beautiful and incandescent in appearance, the older descriptions referred to them as Odin's ravens, dark black in clothing, screaming wildly and dripping in blood. Later, they became much more beautiful and benevolent, still powerful, yet almost a kind of reward for supreme dying for the tribe. The choices of dying for others, of not running away, of protecting a colleague, or of choosing courage, even though they may have been full of fear, is the power the Valkyries rewarded. Their urging to exhibit courage in the way we enact our lives and to release ourselves from the heavy bonds of regret are powerful lessons to learn. I think that's super interesting. I really like how, it's like they have this battle cry. I feel like this is saying, it's like as you choose to step into your power and to face hard truths, to face things that, maybe a little bit more, facing kind of like let's say the darker sides of life, and really being able to hold to your truth in your dignity and your power, especially staying in your power within these situations. It's like, this is what releases you. This is what takes you to this place where it's like you tap into that part of yourself that has this, like, I feel like, in a sense, you're like the Valkyrie. You're the one with this battle cry, this song of power. And as you face the parts of yourself that require courage, you start to reveal this more within yourself, and that power within your voice starts to exude more and become more present and more apparent in your life. But it's a choice, it's a choice of, are you going to submit to your fears and to the things that, let's say, present themselves as blockages on your journey? Or are you going to take action and really fight for yourself, for you? And then here, reverse, you have the card, don't settle for less. This is the Archangel Michael deck. Don't settle for less. You are a child of the divine, and you deserve to have your dreams come true. Don't give up. It says that very clearly. Don't give up, There may be parts of your life that you might have put on hold because you looked in this mirror and it was distorted, and you didn't see how you can get there anymore. You stopped accepting that part of yourself where, part of ourself isn't just our looks, our thoughts, and our feelings. It's also, there are, how other people perceive us. There's also our dreams, our aspirations, the things that inspire us. Those are all parts of who we are as well. And they're there for a reason, They're not there just to taunt us and make us feel incapable. They're there for us to uncover and to reveal and to create. Those things are there, and we feel them and we sense them because we're meant to create them in this life. And the only way you can is to face the things that stand as blockages with courage, and to uncover the power in your voice, to uncover that aspect of yourself, to really tap into the potential of who you are. There is a lot of power there, but it's up to you to attain it. And to not to settle for the life that other people think you should be living, not to settle for what other people perceive as correct, what other people perceive as healthy or holy or whatever. So here we come to the other part of the reading. So believe in the impossible is reversed. There's a lot. So the reason I wanted to separate these two is because there's a lot of, so to me, reversals are symbolic of distorted energy. And there are a lot of reversals here. So the first reversal was believe in the impossible, blue moon. So it's almost like there's this belief that things that feel impossible are impossible. Sorry, the hiccups. And so it feels unattainable and pointless. And here you also have on top of it, and I think this is really interesting because both of these cards have this green, and they're both full moons. This one's full moon in Taurus. Your dreams need a practical plan. So we had balancing spirituality and practicality, and now you have your dreams need a practical plan. So back to this original message of you have these ideas, you have these things, you have these inspirations, these thoughts, these things that are calling to you for a reason. Maybe you've had goals that you've been working towards, relationships you've built. However, there needs to be some practicality to how you attain these things. And a big part of that is really learning to balance your existence in a practical way. being empathic without absorbing being empathic and naturally absorbing other people's energy while simultaneously knowing how to release it and let it go. So it's like, that's just one example of the message I'm trying to say. But like, a lot of times you'll hear people who are like, I'm an empath, and so I absorb everything, so it's really hard for me to be around people. But just because you absorb everything doesn't mean you have to hold on to it. If that's how you energetically exist, you don't need to avoid people to exist that way. You just need to find a way to cope. Of course, you're going to need more time to yourself. Even an introvert or someone with trauma, it's the same thing. Like, you're going to need more time to yourself. However, because you have this inherent ability to tap in, tap out, you need to learn how to tap out. You need to learn how to either transmute or literally just let go of other people's energy so it's not sticking with you and then literally bogging you down. And it's the same thing with many aspects of spirituality, where just because you're seeing behind the veil, just because you're tapping into these things, just because it can be very draining, doesn't mean you have to stay only within the space. You can still set boundaries. You can still find ways to navigate, to co-navigate. Like, you're navigating in the spiritual world, you're navigating in the physical world at the same time. It's really learning how to move through both simultaneously. And so I feel like once you really start grounding that and learning how to do that within your own life, these things that seem impossible, that you right now believe are impossible, it's like you're going to believe in these things. They're not going to seem so impossible anymore, but you need to ground your day-to-day routine first. And with that comes a certain level of, before I say that, I want to say this. So you have, from the original cards that I was pulling, it says exiled, illusion of separation, disconnect, and isolation. So again, if you've been feeling really disconnected from people, you've been wanting to reach out, you've been wanting to reintegrate, especially if you've had a dark night of the soul and you're ready to come back. Or even if you feel separated from this version of who you thought you wanted to be, but now you're very disconnected, you don't know what to think of it, or you don't know how to get there, or you feel like your life has taken a turn that you didn't expect, and so it's like, who are you now? You're not separate from your desires. You're not separate from yourself. Maybe you have some growing to do in your mindset to, bridge back that gap and to who you were versus who you are now, but they're not actually separated. It's consciously they may be separated right now, but there is no real separation there. It's just a matter of shifting. And as you shift, as you start to come back more into yourself and really see yourself for the truth outside of this distorted perception of it's very common to get there. Society in and of itself puts a lot of distorted perceptions on people and, communities as well. Once you get there, it's you move past this disillusionment where you feel disconnected from yourself. You realize it's I like how this card is exiled. You've been kicked out, you've been cast away, you feel like you've been thrown to the dirt. But sometimes you're actually thrown out because there's somewhere better. And with this, you have the card breakthrough, and it's reversed. And I feel like this can mean two things, because then there's this other card that says nothing will come of this situation. So the first thing that I could see this meaning is because of this perspective of being exiled, what if this was really, let's say, like I said, you being cast out for something better? What if the situation that, dark night of the soul or whatever it may be that made you feel so separated was actually a breakthrough in disguise, but either you haven't yet learned or not learned, but like you have yet to perceive the wisdom in it that's going to take you to your next step, or even the opportunities that are going to come from this. Or and so like, let's say if you're not recognizing that it's a breakthrough, but it is, and it's almost like a blessing in disguise, but once you shift your perspective, you see that, and it's like then you're able to work through it. And here it says leap of faith, freedom, new beginnings. So it's like that's what takes you forward and brings you to this new version of yourself that's more grounded and more able to attain and awaken into the things you want and the things that you feel deep down, right? But I can also see this meaning, like, if there is literally a situation that just did not work out, you know, you may have felt cast away, or you may have felt like something suddenly just shifted and it's no longer part of your life, but, you know, you don't understand why, and it's frustrating. Like, let's say it's a relationship going completely wrong, or losing a job, or whatever it may be, where you just feel very disconnected from what you thought was the truth, what you thought was real in your life. And, you know, it could be something that you've put a lot of time into, and so it's something you've wanted to make work. And so with this, nothing will come of the situation and breakthrough in reverse. I feel like that's sort of saying there's more to come. Nothing's coming of this specific situation because you are going through this breakthrough. You know, it's like the seed needs to break through the soil to become like a little plant. You need to break through the dirt to grow into your possibilities. However, I really just don't feel like that's what this is saying, because then you have this believe in the impossible. I really do feel like this is more saying you probably feel like nothing will come from this situation, and it's becoming part of this distorted energy where you've almost lost hope, and it feels like a curse. However, you're supposed to surrender the situation and also be more practical with yourself in the 3D. How can you ground your life? How can you be more present and really build that which you desire? Because it goes both ways, you know. You can't manifest something if you can't work towards it. I mean, I know not everybody believes that, but I know I do. So let me read the card that says surrender. Excuse me, I just have so many hiccups. Trusting that we can achieve more by loosening control can take great courage. So here we have courage again. So I think this is what it's asking you to step into, that courageous aspect of yourself, is literally in surrendering. Sometimes the most constructive way forward is to stop forcing things into being, rather than allowing, inviting, and drawing a project into being. The energy here is of frustration, and if you are pushing something heavy up a mountain and gravity or flow doesn't seem to be on your side, use this awareness as a guide when you start to detour from your path. When control is released, so too is resistance. Loosen your hold on the reins and know the universe will catch you. Trust. Let the mysteries reveal themselves. I feel like that's really important here. Like, it takes a lot of courage to let go of something that you really feel in your heart that you want, or that calls to you, because it's like, it's almost this fear of, well, if I don't put in the effort, is it really going to come about? And the truth is, if you have to drag yourself through the mud, through density, and completely warp your attention, like, okay, this may be the most like important thing I say in this reading, and in general. There's working towards your goals and going after something you want in a healthy way, and then there's something completely taking over your energy and your focus and your intentions and your life, and hyperfixating on things and sometimes it's really hard not to, especially when things keep being presented into our energy and our space, and we're being reminded of them a lot with signs or whatever. However, this is part of how it's important to really, like, even if you're getting spiritual signs and stuff like that, to be able to stay focused and grounded in you, in your specific life, your energy, where things that you desire or things that you're working towards don't consume you, to the point where you have a hard time flowing with your life in the present moment. And so surrendering and really being able to stay within your own space, and being able to have, like, basically, as if you are required to completely funnel your energy into something else in order for yourself to get that thing's not worth it. That nothing is worth stealing your energy. Nothing is worth you giving away your energy to. And I don't mean not putting effort into something. I mean, like, you know what I mean when I say sometimes things make our energy feel distorted. We can feel really, really good and really empowered and beautiful and amazing and radiant. And then one thing happens. Or, you know, maybe you even meet one person and something happens. And suddenly you find yourself kind of spinning like, okay, how can I say this so that they like me? Or how can I, you know, put in more effort so that I get this opportunity, to the point where it's less about you staying authentic to yourself and more about making sure you get this thing. So really surrendering and not really worrying so much about changing your approach or who you are in order to get this thing or for this thing to work out. Because if it doesn't work out without you having to change your energy for it to work out, then it's not worth it. Because your focus and your intention should be going into you. They should be going into you and your growth, your expansion, not the potential for something else. So let's see. And I like here that the Archangel Michael card says, let it go. You know, let it go. The situation no longer serves you. Allow me to sever your connections to the past so you can embrace the future. And letting go, and I think this is really important to say here, because this card isn't saying this situation won't come about. Nothing. It's not saying nothing will come of this situation. It's saying this situation no longer serves you. Sometimes when you cut energetic cords, let's say with specific people, you don't just never talk to or see that person again. Sometimes people regularly do cord cuttings because, you know, at some point being around people enough and kind of integrating your energies together, there is this attachment, and you want to clear that because, again, you don't want anything else keeping your, like, disaligning you from your energy. It's really important to practice that hygiene because it's very easy for that energy to get distorted. Great. Sorry. It's very easy for that energy to get distorted. And, you know, basically, like, cutting that cord isn't ruining your chances of getting something or attaining something or building a relationship. It just means that you're basically burning away stagnant energy that doesn't need to be there anymore. So with this card saying, let it go, this situation doesn't serve you, let me, Archangel Michael, sever the cord here so that it no longer has this energetic connection to you, is more of in the current state of which this situation is in, it's not healthy, it's not helpful, it's not expansive. And so in order to have a healthier future, whether it's with this thing or not, in order to step into your power, it's really important to cut the cord of this specific this specific thing. Because let's say you and I were best friends, right? One day as best friends, the energy between us could be incredible. But the next day, it could be really, really toxic and heavy. Cutting the energy from that day is not cutting, the person out. But it's getting rid of the stagnated energy that no longer needs to be there because it's not going to move forward into the future in a healthy way or in a productive way. And so cutting the cords of a situation and letting it go when it's no longer serving you isn't giving up on it. You could still deep down want something and hope one day it could possibly come about and be. But when your energy keeps becoming distorted every time that you tap into this, you're essentially co-creating that with that thing in an unhealthy manner towards your future. That the energy of that thing and your reaction or your response to it and the way that you integrate your own energy with that thing may be more harmful to you than helpful. And so it's really important to cut that tie before it becomes something that's self-destructive. And then the last card here is Chimera. The whole is more powerful than the parts alone. Experiment. There is power in new designs and ways. There may be people around you sowing discord. You know many things and have your own wisdom. Pull all this together to form something powerful. You have unique experiences and talents that can only be utilized by you. The duality here is one part and many parts. Synergy and discord. I think that's really interesting. I feel like that's kind of what I'm saying with this. The way that you respond to the things that you desire or how you desire a situation to come about is basically like a direct creation of how your future will become in accordance to this thing and you within yourself. And it's like, are you synergizing? Is there a synergy between you and this thing where there's an equal give and take of energy? There's this equal co-creation. There's this equal, like, you put your desire into it. You're balancing it practically by working towards it, but it's not draining you. It's not stealing all your time and your thoughts and your attention, your imagination. You're able to really focus on you, but still put effort into this thing. That's synergy. Distortion or discord, it was saying. Discord, as I see it, is like pulling you out of your inherent energetic space, your energy, pulling you out of that and pulling you more into a place of anxiety, stress, competitiveness, just things that are not aligned with you and your authenticity alone within yourself. So here it says, Homer gives a description of the Chimera in the Iliad, saying that she was of divine stock, not of men. In the fore part a lion, in the hinder part a serpent, and in the midst a goat, breathing forth in terrible wise the might of blazing fire. There were many other descriptions, but bottom line, the Chimera was a creature made up of seemingly disparate, I don't know how to say that word, parts. Yet the parts worked together to create a stunning creature. The Chimera may have been frightening, but it was beautiful and harmonious in form. While the Chimera sounds like something cobbled together like Frankenstein, it was not. It was considered quite perfect in form and function, and was something to be viewed with wonder. While the Chimera appears in the Greek mythos and art, she also appears in 4 BCE. Etruscan, I don't know what that, I'm so sorry, this is like really embarrassing, but whatever. Art and the India seals of the same period. The Chimera was born from 2 incredible Titan monsters, the Echidna and the Typhon. Echidna was a giant, half-woman, half-snake, and Typhon was a deadly serpent-like Titan born from Gaia and Tartarus. Sadly, the Chimera was killed by yet another hero, Bellerophon, the the king of Lycia. I'm just like, I'm going to skip this part because I never read the Iliad. I'm not educated on this. Oh my gosh. He ordered the young man to find it and kill the chimera. As it was killed the cattle from his farm, as it was killing the cattle of his farmers and devastating the country generally. The real reason was that he thought the chimera would simply eat Bellerophon, and that would be that. However, the king neglected to remember that the hero owned the infamous Pegasus, the winged horse, and flying above the chimera, he was able to kill it from a safe height. Interesting. I mean, past the synergy part, I don't know what more to say about that card, but I thought I'd read it. But that was in reverse, as you can see. But yeah, I feel like the overall message here really is just like having the courage to surrender and really just focus on building your life. Focus on building yourself through your awakening, not being so concerned about the outcome of things. And I know that this is very cliche. You hear it a lot. But if it's meant for you, you don't have to distort your energy for it. That is the essence of this message today of what I want to say. I feel like it's really important to understand that you can attain everything that's meant for you, that's going to come regardless of the amount of effort you put in terms of like, no, put in the effort. That wasn't the right way of saying it. Regardless of the amount of self, of your energy that you put into this thing, you're going to get there if it's meant for you. So don't over exude yourself to the point of being disproportionate with your energy. Don't lose yourself for other people or other situations. This is the essence of the reading. So I think I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to make I think for this one, I'm going to make either a sound chamber or meditation. We'll see as I'm making it. But it's really going to be about stepping into your power, your throat chakra, the essence of your expression of your, how you express yourself through life, how you choose to speak up for yourself and react to things, respond to things, and co-create with things. So yeah, I really hope that this reading resonated with you. You got to hear what you needed to hear and you feel a little bit more empowered. So I'll have the next video, the sound chamber or meditation, linked below when I make it. So, and I hope you have a great day, and thank you.